Hey everyone, I'm Jason from Trading Games, and we are sitting inside my store before the store opens. And while I have you here for this video, as you can tell by the thumbnail and the headline, I am redoing the station where we test everything that gets traded in. So I built this station on this wall more than 10 years ago now, probably about 12 years ago. And since then, systems have broken. As you can see, there's no Nintendo up here. There's no 360 up here. And now there's new systems out like the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, etc. So now that I got you hooked and now that I got you here, I'm going to redo this whole entire wall. It's going to be a huge transformation. And this is something people could do at their house if they want to hook up a whole bunch of systems. This could be something that you could do if you own a store and you need a good testing station. This is just some of my ideas. So I'm going to dismantle this testing station, do a lot of huge changes to it, do some very big updates, work on this channel 3 RF adapter thing. This is an RF testing station. I got an old RCA switch box. Now I need to go HDMI and add all the new systems. And this works great, but this also doesn't work great. Also, another surprise for the end of the video is this is over, I think, a 20-year-old TV. And it only does 420, I guess that's, the resolution of it. And it works great, but it's time for an upgrade. So that's going to be really the big, final piece to this puzzle here. And we no longer are really cleaning stuff on this station, like you see the Windex and the paper towels and the screwdrivers. We mainly just use this for testing controllers, games, systems to get traded in, but mostly for testing games. And now we do all our cleaning back here behind the counter facing the customers. So I'm going to get started tearing this down. I'll update you throughout this video on where I'm at with some of those steps. So stay tuned. All right, now it's pretty funny now that I got the cabinets pulled away. There's a whole bunch of old Nintendo RFs that are no longer work. You can see there's some old cut cords in here. Sometimes they'll just die. The Genesis one's gone bad a couple times. I've changed it out. Like right now I have a jumper joined from the Genesis directly into the RF. So yeah, it's pretty bad back here. So, and it's dirty. So I get a chance to clean it all. So let's continue. As you can see, I got the systems all stripped down and all the wires out. I left the Genesis just for a reference of the height that it was at. So, if you have a store, this is the Store Supply Warehouse. They sell this grid. It's 2 foot by 8 foot, and you can get it at 6 foot, 4 foot. And all I did was put a 2x4 header all the way around my store at the exact same height that one of the bars would fall on. And then, like at Lowe's, Home Depot, those closet organizers, those white wire rack things, those little white straps is what holds those up to the wall. And then, of course, the weight of it is on the floor. So I've done this for 23 years since I opened my store, and I've never had a failure of these. Now that I had these down, I did replace 2 of them because they do get old and brittle. I just replaced those, and I'm going to replace all the ones that were up there holding this grid. But these are just held together with these little clips you can also buy from the Store Supply Warehouse, little grid connectors. And I have them on a hinge system. So these don't go all the way down to the floor. So these are supported by the hinge, and then I'll put a hinge on the other side here and some of the white straps. And that's how I do that. So as you can see, I have a mess of good wires, systems with wires, and bad wires on the floor. So I'm going to keep going here. All right, I got the new 50-inch TV mounted up. So the reason I went with this weird Hennessy TV is, well, first of all, it was fairly inexpensive. Second of all, it had an RF input. A lot of the new flat panels I was looking at did not have the RF input, and I need that for the old school systems. And then it also had standard RCAs, composite or whatever you want to call it, yellow, white, and red. And a lot of the ones I looked at also did not have that. So I needed that. And what I did was I used the feet that came with it, and they're installed, and then I just cut them so they're not going to stick out. And they're just sitting on here for the weight. And then I zip tied them so they don't pull out this way. And then on the back, I had a pretty heavy duty chain on the old TV that had been up there for over 12 years, and I just reused that chain and chained it to the grid. I did that before I put this back up against the wall and put the hangers back at the top. So now it's nice and sturdy. I went ahead and plugged in, since it's going to be pretty hard to get to back there, I went ahead and plugged in an HDMI, and I labeled it down there with blue tape. I did HDMI 2, I did channel 3, and I did the composite input. So, you know, I'm going to start hooking these systems up. I'm going to get the shelf at the right height, and I'll keep showing you some more. So stay tuned. I have got a lot done. So, got the TV up. I showed you that. So what I did here was I have all these systems on the shelf hooked up with HDMI, except for the original Wii. I have that hooked up with its standard composite or hookup. So what you see here is an HDMI automatic switch box. So number one is the Xbox One, and it goes down and matches all the way down, except for the last one. So the last one is just a blank, and if we're having something traded in, that will be sitting on the counter so we can hook it up really quick. Then the PlayStation, the Super Nintendo, and the original Xbox, they're hooked up to this push selector box, and that'll be on AV input on the TV. This box will be on the HDMI input number 1, and then the Atari and the Genesis are hooked up with channel 3, and that will be just the antenna input. And then this is a blank antenna input, and that goes, all three of these go into the same thing. That way, if I have somebody trade in an old RF system, this is the quick hookup for it. And then the way it works is I have a little like 5 into 1 here. So 1 goes up to the TV, and then 5 things can go into this block. This is like an old monster block. I'm sure you can find these like online. But as you can see, I have all the HDMI cables labeled, all the AV cables labeled. Makes it real easy to test all these. I decided to go ahead and do the 64 HDMI conversion. It just worked good to be on the HDMI switch instead of the multi-selector. I'll have to get these relabeled. But yeah, the PS2 will be on here. The Wii, the original Xbox, and then the multi this is the multi output. And actually, no, this is not the multi output. I need to get a multi output hooked up here still. That's so that you can plug in anything with a multi output. It actually has the proper end on it to hook up anything to it. And then that runs into that's when you push the multi button. So as you can see, you got a power brick down there and a surge protector power brick there. Everything's just kind of keeping the wires off the floor. That way I can keep the floor clean. So let me get the counters put back together and I'll show you the rest. All right, I'm all done. Took me about 8 hours today to build this. And here is the big reveal. There it is, all set up. It's just an inexpensive TV that has AV, RF, HDMI, Roku built in, Walmart, a couple $100, like $200 actually for this 50-inch TV. So it'll work for up here. And as you can see, got this nice little shelf, got plenty of workspace. So we use this table when things are traded in. And we use all these systems constantly to test cartridge-based games, discs that get resurfaced, discs that get traded in that were sus if they work. Controllers get tested pretty much every single day. But this, I labeled this HDMI switch here. It's automatic, so whenever you turn a different system on, so like if I turn, let me see, I'm going to turn this Xbox One off. So it's Xbox One is on right now. Now, when I turn the 360 on, as you see there, it automatically lights up the next one. Or you can just push the button for the one that you want on. So it's pretty simple. So I had that on HDMI 1 as labeled. I have the buttons in order for the way the stuff goes across the counter right here. And then hooked up to standard AV, which is this one. I have the PS2, the Wii, and the original Xbox over on the left. So Now, what's interesting about this switch box is it has an RCA tester, and that's what this cable is for that sits down here. This has 3 of the butt connectors on it, because we do like to test every single AV cable that gets traded in that goes out with the system, so that we know that when the people get it home, that AV cable works. We don't always take it for granted that they all do work. Then the other one says multi, and that's this one right here, and that's for really quick hooking up a system like a Nintendo 64, Xbox 360, PS2. It's just a real quick hookup for those. And then this is called the #1 HDMI test. So if a modern system comes in like Xbox, One, PS4, all that kind of stuff, we can actually hook it up with this cable. And then I actually have this labeled as tester, the last one on here. So this is an 8 hookup HDMI, but tester is the last one. And that's for when we put a system on this counter. And then as you can see, there's the power plug for it right there to plug stuff in to charge our things up. And then, hiding over here in the corner, I have the switch because that didn't need to be faced out. We do use the Wii as our GameCube also for testing GameCube controllers, GameCube memory cards, GameCube games. The new Retron, we test all our Nintendo games. That's why I have the Super Nintendo also. We didn't think we needed a Dreamcast this time, and a couple other obscure systems. They can go into those multi-AVs. And then the only other thing is for Channel 3, when things come in, this is also hooked up into the terminal. That way we can screw in old school RF adapters for Nintendos, et cetera, and test stuff that way. And then, of course, I have the pull-out drawers beneath it. When we get stuff traded in, after it's done testing and we own it, we put it in these drawers, and then we process it out and through. So we're making some changes. We still might do a little cleaning over here, so I do have some cleaning chemicals there. But this is a much more efficient setup. I hope everybody enjoyed this video of me building this, and hope this inspires maybe something at home if you're doing something like this, or maybe another store inspires them for testing stuff, building a test station. I think these are the systems that we use the most for testing out accessories and games and stuff. And, we know there's tons of other systems, but this works for the most part. So I want to thank you for watching the Trading Games video. This is inside the Trading Games store. The only thing left is we have tons. Every single one of those plushes that you see over there was actually on this wall all around the old systems. And we have tons of little toys also, like little plastic figures and everything, all Nintendo, Mario, Sonic, you name it. And I'm going to let the employees around the store decorate around the TV to really make the wall just pop with some color. So I'll update some pictures of that on our Facebook and our Instagram once we get the wall built the rest of the way. So thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button for Trading Games, and we'll get some more videos out soon. Thanks. Bye.